Hello guys, this is the Pranzata podcast. I'm Andrea, and this is episode 21 of the Pranzata podcast. Today we have just me, a solo episode. I don't have anything booked for today. So before we get into it, if you're interested in this type of podcast, I do interviews with musicians and comedians and local artists from the New Jersey, New York, and Philadelphia area. And I also sometimes every now and then do a solo podcast, as I am doing today, just to kind of touch base with what's going on with me and my thoughts. Sometimes I do questions and answers. So before we get into it, don't forget to hit subscribe to this channel. If you want to come back for a weekly podcast. I've been a little off the schedule with the weekly podcast. I've been doing kind of a bi-weekly thing, but I'm going to update you guys on why that's been happening right now in this podcast. Also, don't forget to comment on anything as we go along the podcast. I love, hearing what you guys have to say in the comment section and engaging in conversation or friendly debate or anything like that. So anyways, let's get right into it. So, Pranzata podcast episode number 21. I honestly have a lot on my mind right now. If left to my own devices, I could probably talk for 4 hours right now, but I'm not going to do that to you guys. I'm not going to ramble on for 4 straight hours. So I made a little list of things that I really want to touch up on with you guys about what's been going on with me, what's been going on in my head right now with my life and where I'm at. Just kind of touch base why I've been a little bit flaky on my podcast the past couple weeks. I mean, I've been putting them out there, but I usually do my, weekly Thursday routine, but it's been kind of like bi-weekly at this point. So first thing, let me grab my coffee. By the way, shout out to the fake business merchandise by comedian Tim Dillon. If you guys don't know Tim Dillon, you have to check him out. He's an amazing comic. Okay, first thing. I've been going through a little bit of a rough patch through several different areas in my life, but I would say the main thing is probably financially. I'm going through a bit of a rough patch. It's, I feel like there's something in the air right now where, I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but do you ever have one of those weeks where or months actually, for me, it's been like several weeks, to a month at this point, where all the things happen at once, like everything breaks down at once. I don't know what that is, but I know from past history in my life that it always seems to work out that way. It's like a domino effect. Like one thing kind of goes wrong. And I don't know if we do it to ourselves mentally, maybe we get anxious about the one thing that goes wrong and we kind of perpetuate this ongoing stress. And I don't know if you guys believe in the power of the mind and the universe and everything, or the law of attraction is what I'm trying to say. But I kind of believe that stuff. And sometimes I do wonder, if when you have a problem and then you kind of obsess over it, you literally make more problems with your mind. I don't know. So it's been one of those few weeks where it started off with I got a $115 parking ticket in New York City. I had multiple Easy Pass fines, which is actually my fault. That's totally in my control. I accidentally, I didn't bring any cash with me through the tolls going into New York City. And, when I do my open mics, I go to North Jersey or New York City. And several times I didn't have any cash on me. I didn't have an Easy Pass. I finally signed up for one. And they give you an envelope that you can mail it in and pay them online or whatever, mail a check in. I forgot to mail them in every 3 times. So I had $150 in Easy Pass fines, $115 parking ticket. And I guess that's what started the domino effect of the anxiety about money. And then before you know it, let's see what else. My brakes, I had to replace my brakes. Just 2 days ago, I was doing a food delivery and I got a flat tire and I didn't have a spare tire. So I had to get my car towed. And for those of you who saw my Instagram, by the way, I had tons of Wendy's on me. And I still have the Wendy's in the freezer because nobody offered to take it because they were too lazy or whatever to come get it. But I didn't have the heart to waste all the Wendy's. So there's I have an entire Wendy's restaurant in my freezer right now. If anybody lives in the Somerville area, hit me up. take it out of the freezer and you got yourself like a free meal for a week. But anyway, so the flat tire. And then yesterday last night I put on makeup and a nice outfit and I went to record my podcast finally. I was like, at least I could take care of myself and do that. And my audio interface broke. So if you notice right now, I'm not using a microphone. I'm just using the camera. So apologies for that. I have to get a new audio interface, so I'm not going to be able to do my podcast with the microphone until I take care of that. Those are expensive, by the way. Audio interfaces, you could get a cheap one, but they're cheap for a reason. They're not good. So I don't want to like do the thing where you get a cheap one to hold you over and then you end up having to get a good one anyways. Like I'd rather just find a way to get the good one right away because I'm going to need it. So why waste the money on the shitty one? So for now, my podcasts and my things are going to have to be without recorded audio, but I put the camera close to my face, so hopefully that helps. But anyways, you guys get the idea. It's been one of those fucking months where it's just like thing after thing after thing. I don't know if anyone else is going through that right now, or if there's something in the air, or if it's just me. But I have some thoughts on this, and I kind of want to talk about this with you guys about what I think is going on personally. So I want to quickly talk about, I want to get into like a little bit of a spirituality talk with you guys, because from my memory of things that have happened in my life, whenever things happen like this, the classic saying, it rains, it pours. I hate cliche quotes, but that's like the best quote I can honestly think of. When it rains, it pours. I honestly think that whenever something like this happens, in the moment, it always seems like the end of the world. You're not going to get out of it. You feel like you're like a hamster running through a hamster wheel, like you're working hard and you can't get anywhere. But from my experience, whenever things like this in life happen, it always seems like God or the universe is trying to push you to something else, to find a solution to this problem, to kind of push you through the struggle and get you to the next step. So that's my philosophy on it. I really think I choose to have a positive outlook about when things like this happens. I could be wrong, but I really think for me, that's the best way to handle the situation, is to try to find the silver linings. So I'm going to explain to you what I think the silver linings in this situation are. But I also want to give you like a little quick side story about a similar thing that happened to me in the past. So for those of you who know, I am a musician. I went to college for classical piano. I have played music by ear when I was younger, and I took like very brief lessons when I was younger, but I never stuck with it. So pretty much for the most part, I did a lot of like learning the classical music that I know now, or that I'm able to play now. I really didn't start till my 20s. So I remember like being in my mid to late 20s and really praying to God, please, I want to learn piano. I feel kind of lost because I'm so behind. I feel too old to learn, but it's really what I want. And I just remember putting a lot of thought and a lot of prayer into wanting to be a good pianist. And I really wasn't that good at this point. I had a good ear, like musically, I had a really decent ear. I had a decent singing voice at that time, but my piano skills needed a lot of work at that point in my life. And fast forward, I started out by putting the hard work into practicing constantly. I was practicing, I was doing my part on working hard to become a pianist, to become a good pianist. I had a teacher. I ended up getting accepted into a college program at Kane University on a, what do they call it? I don't remember what they call it right now, but it's basically they let you in and they give you one semester to prove that you can do it. Probation. So they call it acceptance on probation. They say like, okay, we'll let you in, but you really have to prove that you're able to. You really have to prove that you're able to improve your skills within a semester, or else we'll kick you out. So I managed to get into a situation like that where I was like approved on probation. And then after all that hard work, that I put in for like a year or 2 years, I had a severe tendonitis injury, which honestly I might talk about in more detail in another video, but I have other things that I want to get to. Like I said, I can ramble on for 4 hours right now, but I have like specific points I want to go over so that I don't get too ADD on you guys. But I do want to bring this up briefly because it relates to what I'm talking about. I put all that work into becoming a pianist, and I ended up getting this severe tendonitis injury to the point, and I was pretty young when this happened too, so this was pretty terrifying. I was like 25 or 26, I want to say, and the pain was so bad. I definitely couldn't play piano. I had to quit my job that I was working. I was a waitress, and I couldn't lift plates anymore. So it was crazy. It was like everything was snatched from me in an instant. I couldn't work. I couldn't make money. I couldn't play piano. Everything I had worked for was just like ripped out of my hands. And honestly, this was one of the most depressing times of my life. Like I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I had suicidal thoughts at that time because I didn't like see the point of living. I can't make money. I can't do what I want. This is pointless. I worked so hard. And again, it's like that hamster thing I was talking about. You work hard and get nowhere. It's a really frustrating feeling. But then what happened was I did recover in about a year. It took a year to recover from this and a lot of like mental work. I recovered in about a year. And then I ended up getting into the hands of a piano teacher. Shout out to Dr. Martha Marchena. She's an amazing, wonderful person. I ended up getting lucky enough to find Dr. Marchena, and she basically, I didn't add this in the beginning of the story. The reason why I had the injury, the wrist injury, is because I was working so hard to become a pianist, but I didn't have the correct technical abilities to do it. So I was like, it would be like if I was a skier and I skipped over the bunny slopes and just tried to go for the big hills without any experience. That's exactly what I was doing. I was like taking on really complex piano pieces, but I didn't have the technical abilities developed yet. So anyways, fast forward. I have Dr. Marchena, amazing professor. She basically retrained my piano technique like I was a baby learning how to walk again. And within like 5 or 6 months, I was playing better than I could have ever imagined. And it was like this, if this was the graph, it was like I was working really, really hard to become a good pianist. I was almost getting worse because I didn't know what I was doing. Got this injury, recovered from this injury, found Dr. Marchena, and then boom, the graph, like I just started getting better and better from that point. And I don't mean that to brag. Like I don't want to sound like I'm like, oh, I'm so good. Like I still have a lot of work to do on the piano, but I do recognize how like that graph and how much better I got when I got into the hands of Dr. Marchena. So what I'm trying to say, and the moral of the story is at the time that I was experiencing this helpless, defeated feeling of not knowing what my future was going to hold, not knowing how I was going to get to the next level of my life and continue to pursue what I wanted to pursue. I had no idea at that time that this problem, this really serious problem, was a huge blessing in disguise, because looking back, there is no way I would be the pianist I was today if I didn't have that injury, because that injury forced me to then really learn piano correctly and find such an amazing teacher who could teach it to me correctly. Had I not been injured, I would have continued the previous path of working in a way that was getting me nowhere because I didn't know what to do, and I wasn't in the right hands of people who could really teach me and really help me. So anyways, that I could honestly like talk about that in another video, because I feel like I could really help someone else who's going through a similar thing with like tendonitis and wrist injuries and stuff like that. But that's not the point of the episode, this podcast episode. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up to relate to what I'm going through now. Right now, I'm going through a similar thing. It's not as serious as my tendonitis story because my body works. I'm in very good health right now. So that I'm very thankful for. So really the stress I'm going through now is nowhere near as much stress as it was when I went through that piano injury. However, I am going through a lot of stress financially and particularly and emotionally too. I'm going to open up and let you guys know that I have been feeling very lonely lately. As you guys know, I've been through, I don't want to cry. I don't want to be one of those like YouTube criers. So I'm sorry if it happens, but I went through a breakup last year, like it's almost a year now. I want to say me and my ex-boyfriend, we broke up in, I'm crying a little bit. Sorry, guys. We broke up a little bit. I can't even talk because I'm a little like taken back. I hate being vulnerable in front of people. So this is like kind of petrifying that I'm showing this to the whole world. But we broke up in August. Yeah, we broke up in August, but we still lived together for a little bit because I had to find a place to live. And I ended up moving out into this apartment in November. So we did break up in August, but it kind of feels like we broke up in November because we were still like sleeping in the same bed and that sort of thing until November. But anyways, me and my boyfriend, we broke up then, and I was actually okay with it at first emotionally because I was, I wasn't happy in the relationship. So it was kind of a good thing at the time. And also like the distraction of finding a place to live was so big that I didn't even have time to like feel my feelings. Like I just had to like move and keep going. So that was a big distraction. And I was really happy to live here too. Like I actually really love living on my own and I love having my own apartment. But lately I have been like emotionally going through like feelings of loneliness because I think it's because it's like summer and spring. And you start to see like people out and mingling and, you just kind of wish that you had somebody to mingle with, so I'm sorry guys. It's just, I'm an Italian woman. When I speak what's in my heart, I can't help but get emotional about it. So anyways, so I've been going through, like I said, some financial and emotional stresses right now. But when I think back to what happened to me with the piano situation with my injury, and then I look how like that really pushed me to like find a solution to this big problem. I really think that that's kind of what's going on now. And from my past experience, I can recognize that and see that. I think that, okay, I'm going to tell you guys before I get into what I think like is happening and what the universe is trying to solve. I want to tell you guys about like, because I wanted to talk about spirituality. I want to talk about spiritual signs and animals. So I do believe that the universe sends people signs to help them, to guide them. And personally, I've noticed that I seem to be getting these signs through animals. Now, here's the thing. I don't think that signs are universal to everybody. I really think that God finds a way to show you signs that you'll recognize. So, for example, if I see a black cat and to me that is significant, I don't think that black cats are necessarily significant. I just think that God recognizes that I think that black cats are significant. So he shows me the black cats to like remind me. So I do think like universal signs are completely different for everybody, and they're not universal signs are not universal. That's the funny thing about it. But so animal sightings. I did see an animal sighting recently that is actually really funny, and I used it in my stand-up bit. So before me and my boyfriend broke up, I did see a bunch of black cats. That's why I brought it up. I remember like just a couple weeks before we broke up, I kept seeing black cats at night, like at like midnight. and they were crossing the road right in front of me. And I saw like 5 of them in like 1 week. So I also think the universe does that too, by the way. I think the universe has a way of like, kind of like proving to you like, yes, this is the sign. I feel like if it comes in more than one, then it's definitely a sign, like to look out for that kind of thing. So I remember like when I was seeing those black cats crossing the road in front of me, several times in a week, I had this like sinking feeling in my stomach, like this is a warning sign. Some shit's about to go down. Be prepared. I didn't know if it was like in the world, if there was going to be some type of catastrophe. I mean, there already was the pandemic and everything. So at that point, it wasn't that. I don't know. I was like, there's going to be a war. There's going to be a tornado. Like, I don't know what the fuck this means, but in my gut, I knew something was coming. And then lo and behold, me and my boyfriend broke up. And I think the tornado, so to speak, was me having to really quickly find a solution to where I was going to live that I wasn't prepared for, because I wasn't really prepared for the breakup financially. I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know where I was going to live. So that was a lot of stress on me. But I did get through it. And here I am in this beautiful room, in this beautiful apartment and podcast room. So it all worked itself out. But I saw another sighting recently, and it was like a week or two before all this stress started happening with me. The sighting is kind of funny to me. I don't need to laugh at it, but it is funny, like how messed up it seems. So I was driving and I saw this like huge turtle in the most random spot too. It was like on a highway. Like, so there must have been some type of water somewhere near the highway, but the turtle was run over and dead. And I'm not laughing at the dead turtle. I'm laughing about like what the signs mean. It can't be good. But the turtle was dead. His shell was cracked. There was like blood oozing out of his body, and his like eyes were bulging and his tongue was out. And like, I did talk about it in my stand-up because I think it's like a pretty messed up animal sighting. It can't be good luck for me. So I saw that, and I should also like throw out there that I have like a special significance with turtles in general. So that's how I knew that this turtle wasn't just a random turtle. This like was a sign for me, like some shit's gonna go down. Fucking get ready. It's gonna get wild. I'll tell you really quickly, briefly too, about like something I had with turtles a long time ago. So you can see like, yeah, turtles mean something significant to me. One time, this was when I was like 18 or 19 years old. I was still living with my parents. I had this really weird dream about an empty house, a huge empty house with little turtles everywhere. Like they were alive, but they were small, like little turtles just all over the place. In this big empty house. So the next day, my stepmom, she told me, I was going to say called me, but we lived together. So she probably just told me. She was like, there's an estate sale on our street down the road. Estate, I think it's called estate sale. It's like when someone passes away and they're selling everything in their house. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but I believe that's an estate sale. But anyways, someone passed away, an old lady passed away in our neighborhood, and my stepmom told me, like, come check it out. They're selling a bunch of stuff, really great stuff. So I went to the house, and lo and behold, this lady had like a turtle obsession, and she collected all these like little turtles. They weren't real, like the dream, they were actually like real turtles, but they were just like little, I don't know, little turtles that she collected, like porcelain turtles. And they were all over the house. I'm talking like obsessive turtles. So that was freaky. Having that dream pretty much, and then seeing this almost the same thing the next day. So I feel like there was something there where I was connected to this woman's death, and I was connected to the turtles somehow. So ever since then, I did take like turtles as like a sign from God. Like, okay, I think turtles mean something to me. And I was talking about this with one of my podcast guests, and I brought it up to him. And he also told me that turtles were important to him and he felt like a spiritual connection with turtles. And what he told me was that what turtles represent to him spiritually, and it made a lot of sense and that resonated with me too. He said that turtles live a long life and they're slow and steady. So they represent persistence and wisdom. And I do think that when he said that, that really did resonate with me, because I feel like I have been handed a difficult life. Like I've had a lot of struggles, and they've gone on for a long time. I feel like I've had more struggles than good times in my life. But I'm also very hardworking and I'm very persistent. And I'm kind of like a workaholic. And I do think because I've been through so many struggles, that's why I'm a workaholic, because I feel like when things feel out of control, it feels good to like keep focused and keep my eyes on the prize kind of thing, like no matter what's happening. I feel like that's a skill or like a positive thing about my personality is that I'm very persistent. And wisdom, I don't want to say I'm wise. I feel like that's arrogant. But I also do feel like because I've been through so many struggles at a young age, I do have a lot of insight for a younger person. Not that I'm that young anymore necessarily. I'm 33 now. But I do remember like in my 20s feeling like I had wisdom at a younger age because of some of the struggles I went through, which I could talk about some of those struggles in another video because I want to stay focused. So anyways, turtles mean something to me. And I'm having a difficult time interpreting what a big dead turtle means. Comment in the comment section below if you have any ideas. I have two interpretations. One is really bad and one is really good. So one of the so if we really think about like the meaning of like turtles going through a long life and being persistent and wise, I think that one interpretation of this could be, I'm going to go with the negative interpretation first. I don't like this one, but one of my honest interpretations is that I'm going to die soon because, and I don't want to put that in the universe. I don't want to put that out there, but like one interpretation I had was that like this turtle's dead. I'm going to die soon. I'm just saying that was one of my honest interpretations. I hope that's not it. But my other interpretation was because turtles are long-lived, one of the interpretations is that my big struggles are going to end soon. And life, by the way, struggles never end. So that's not to say that I'll never have struggles again. There's going to be other. It's inevitable. There's a lot of. It's part of life. Life is a journey. There's going to be deaths in the family. There's going to be financial struggles. There's going to be breakups, divorces, whatever. It's going to happen. But I do feel like for many years, I've been carrying this, just like this financial burden of always feeling like I'm living paycheck to paycheck and always feeling like money really held me back. So one of my interpretations of this is that the turtle was dead, and the turtle was smashed up into pieces because I feel like I'm finally going to get through a breakthrough of my financial stresses. I need to believe that that's what the interpretation of the dead turtle is, because I do not want to believe that it just means I'm going to die. I don't want to believe that. I do believe that this is a sign from God that I'm going to go through this really rough patch financially for a few months. But the struggle will finally end and I will finally find a solution to it. If I think back to my podcast in January, one of my goals this year was to finally end the financial struggle. I haven't solved the goal yet, but I've been trying to really, really hard. And I do think, like I said, this like rings it porous thing that's going on with me right now financially, I really think it's going to push me to find a solution, to figure out how to fix this problem, and to like I said, I don't think the dead turtle means that struggle is over. Struggle will never be over. And financial struggle, in a sense, will never be over, because even if you're wealthy, there's going to be times where you need to dip into your emergency funds. But I do think there is a chance that I can finally end the struggle of this like paycheck to paycheck life. I really think I can get there, So by the way, if anybody has any other potential interpretations of like seeing a disgusting dead turtle, leave that in the comment section below, because those were my only two interpretations. One, I'm going to die, or two, a really big struggle is going to end soon. All right. So I want to get past that. So my next topic here, I don't have that many topics because I know I could literally talk forever about each individual topic. So I didn't want to do that to you guys and talk for like 4 or 5 hours. Next topic, where am I going to live? So for those of you who have been following this podcast for a while now, I mean, I only have 21 episodes, but I do have some loyal listeners that have been listening to every episode. I really appreciate that. I went to Austin, Texas a few months ago. Well, it's been like 6 or 7 months at this point, but no, like 4 months actually. What am I talking about? I don't know. I don't have any concept of time right now because I'm going through so much stress, but financial stress mainly, and emotional stress, like I said. But anyways, I went to Austin, Texas. One of my goals this year was to figure out how to get myself in a city, because I do want to pursue comedy and music. I want to pursue the arts. And I really feel like a lot of people say you can do it from home now. And you can, because of YouTube. But I feel like at the end of the day, there is no better and no more valuable experience than being in the heart of a location where there's so many like-minded people trying to do the same thing. So I recently went to Austin to explore the city and decide if that was something I could see myself doing. At first, I had my heart kind of like set on Austin, and I was like, all right, I'm going to save my money and move there next year. And one of the biggest reasons for that was because of the pandemic. It seemed like the South was the only thing that seemed promising. And I don't want to get into politics about it. I know that's going to piss some people off and be like, yeah, fuck the South, fuck Texas. I don't mean this in a political way. I try not to, I do have some of my political opinions, but I try not to get into political arguments with people. It's just not worth it to me. It's not worth my time and energy. But like it or not, whatever your political belief is on that, Austin, Texas is a booming city for artists. I believe that if we do have a second pandemic, it's going to be easier for artists to navigate that setting. For one, it's warm outside, so there's the opportunity for more outdoor music events and outdoor comedy events and that sort of thing. So for that reason, I do think at that time, Austin, Texas was looking like a really hot place for me to go. However, this is where we're getting to, New York City. So now that the pandemic is finally feeling like it's coming to a close, knock on wood, I have wood floors, knock on wood, that there isn't some type of fucking second pandemic coming soon. Hopefully, to God, the pandemic is finally coming to a close and things are going to be better. I know they were like talking about a potential variant, but I really hope they figure that out and that whatever the vaccinated people is going to control the situation and things are going to be looking for the better. So I have been spending a lot more time in New York City recently. I did a gig in New York City recently. I did a photo shoot in New York City. I've been spending like a lot of time in that area in general, Jersey City, Hoboken, North Jersey / New York City. And I have to say, intuitively, I like New York City better than Austin, Texas. And I'll tell you why. And I do think that both Austin, Texas and New York City are good for artists. I think they're both really good options. I think for comedy, they're both really good options. For music, I do think New York City is better because you can't beat the New York City music scene. They say that Austin, Texas is like a music capital. I don't really believe that. From my observation, I didn't think that. I felt like there were only like really specific styles of music that were played there. I feel like it might be a music capital for like certain subgenres of rock and punk and ska and that type of stuff. And correct me if I'm wrong. Like I'm not a professional at Austin, Texas, but my observation there was I didn't really see it as like this big booming like musical capital. New York City is definitely a music capital of the world, in my opinion. Mainly because of the jazz scene and the hip hop scene, and there's just so many music producers. I mean, it's New York City. It's very populated. There's a lot of like live music and musical stuff going on there. So for that reason, intuitively, I believe that New York City is probably a better place to live for artists if you could afford it. So like weighing out the pros and cons of New York City and Texas for me, the pros about Austin, I would say, are one, the warm weather. So if there is a pandemic again, I always have the option of outdoor comedy and outdoor music and that type of stuff. So that's one pro. Another pro is the cost of living. They say that Austin, Texas is one of the most expensive cities in the South, but honestly, I've done my research. I'm from New Jersey. I already know what expensive is. It is not expensive down there, in my opinion. So, by the way, if anybody's on this podcast just because they wanted to hear about like the pros and cons of Texas versus New York City, I keep that in mind that you can find a studio apartment there for less than $1,000. The state taxes are so much cheaper than New Jersey and New York. Things are just cheaper there, you know? So I don't know who puts this rumor out that Austin, Texas is expensive. To me, it's not. Maybe if you buy a house there, it's expensive. I'm not planning to buy a house anytime soon. So that's a whole different story. I'm not a professional on that. But as far as renting, like if you're a music artist, if you're a comedian or a musician or an artist, like you probably can't afford to buy a house. So as far as renting goes, no, I don't think it's expensive. So to me, those were the two biggest pros about potentially living in Austin was like the cost of living would be so much cheaper. And if there's another pandemic, it would be easier to navigate that. However, there are a lot more pros to New York City, in my opinion. One con about Austin in comparison to New York City was that you need to drive around everywhere to live in Austin. But I mean, because of the cost of living is cheaper, you could afford to keep a car. It's easy to park. So that's not really an issue. But that's a con for me because the one thing that I love about New York City is that you can live in New York City and hop on the subway and get anywhere. So, you know, if you're having drinks with friends or it's late at night and you're doing a comedy thing and you have a drink, you don't have to worry about driving home. Like you can just, and you can always use Uber too, but still you can just like hop on a subway and like, I don't know. It really depends who you are and what you like. I'm more of like I like a fast-paced environment. You might like Austin, Texas better if you're more of a country person and you don't want a fast-paced environment. Personally, that's not me. I like action. I like excitement. I'm not much of a nature person, to be completely honest with you. I think that cities are nature, and that's like a whole nother topic. But I feel like people have this like hang up that like there's nature in the city, but like the city is nature because the city was built by humans and humans are natural. So I don't know. Personally, I'm a very like fast-paced person. I'm a very anxious person. So I feel like I need stimulation, like, or else I get bored. So I didn't feel like Austin, Texas had that thrivingness and that stimulation. They do have a lot of events and things going on throughout the year, but they have like also a lot of like dead periods as well. And New York City, I feel like as long as there's not a pandemic, they're always alive. Like it's always lively. There's always something to do. Like I said before, I did a gig there recently and I loved it. I just loved, I didn't love the parking ticket I got and I didn't love those parts of it. But if you lived there, that wouldn't have been an issue because I would have lived there. So I don't know. I really like I just loved the environment and the vibe and the nightlife. And I don't know, I guess what it comes down to for me is that Austin, Texas would be cheaper. It would be more manageable in a second pandemic. But if there isn't another pandemic coming and I want to place my chips on the faith that we're good now, I would personally prefer to live in New York City at this point. So where does that bring me? And what does that relate to everything I'm talking about? My lease is over in November, and that's about 4 months away, 3.5 months at this point. Right now, because of post-pandemic, it is the cheapest to get into New York City. I'm not prepared really to do this because I was going to wait an extra year, but I am going to, even though I'm struggling financially right now, I'm going to use the next 3.5 months to try to find a way to move to New York City. And I'm somebody who works well under pressure. Like I said, when me and my boyfriend broke up, I saw those black cats and everything went to shit. I didn't have a plan, and I ended up door dashing, and I door dashed a lot, and I found a solution and it worked. So I do feel like when I'm under that intense pressure, that pressure actually pushes me to solve problems. So I think that's where I'm getting at. That's kind of like the theme of this episode really is like, I'm under a lot of stress, but I do think that everything's going to come to a close. And I think that dead turtle, to me, it represents like the end of this struggle for finding the funds that I need to do what I want. So I've been doing a lot of like, I've been applying to some more jobs. I've actually been applying to jobs in New York City because I think if I am going to move in the city, it would be good to like get established there ahead of time so that I already have a job when I'm there. I've been applying to teaching jobs. I've been applying to comedy club jobs. I've been applying to restaurant jobs, bartending jobs, and everything like that. I don't necessarily want to go back in the restaurant business, but at the end of the day, if that's what's going to make me, I think probably bartenders in New York City probably make a killing because it's so busy there. At the end of the day, if that's going to give me the extra funds I need to solve my financial stresses and my financial problems, I would be willing to do that. So guys, I might be in New York City in November if I can get my shit together and figure out a solution to the problem. I do think I will, because there's different options. I could find a roommate. I don't want a roommate. I live on my own now and I'm really spoiled and I love living on my own. I have 2 cats that are extremely happy because they have this like whole apartment to themselves. So, if I have to, I'll get a roommate, if it's absolutely necessary, but I'm honestly going to push to try to find a studio apartment. My apartment right now is pretty spacious and that's nice. But at the end of the day, if I'm in New York City and I need to work more hours to make a living, then I'm going to kind of view my apartment as a bed. Like I don't really need all the space, I just need a little corner to make my podcast, a little corner to practice my music, and a little corner to sleep, and a tiny kitchen to cook my food. That's all I need. So my first preference would be to find a small studio. They are out there. I have looked, like I said, because of post-pandemic stress on the landlords and a bunch of people moving out. I think right now the landlords in New York, or some of them, are pretty desperate to just get people moved in there. So I have seen like some pretty good locations with studio apartments for like $1,300. And right now I'm in New Jersey paying $1,000. So an extra $300. And by the way, a lot of the times the utilities are included. So I would actually save money on utilities for 2 reasons. For one, if it's a small studio, it wouldn't take as much money to heat it up and electrocute it. You know what I mean? Put the lights on and everything. And 2, the utilities included, it might actually end up being the same that I'm paying now in New Jersey. So I'm going to really try to get a studio apartment. I'm going to try to get an extra job on top of the jobs I'm working. I really want to find a solution for this, and I want to find a routine that works because, again, like I said, everything just fucking crashed on me. I don't have the proper equipment to record the podcast right now. I don't have the money to get a new audio interface. My fucking tires, my brakes, it's fucking crazy. Like it's just all happening at once for me right now. But I am going to solve this problem. And I feel like I'm going to like end the struggle. Like the dead turtle is trying to signal to me. I'm going to end this struggle once and for all. I'm going to find a solution. And I do think that this issue right now is going to push me. The struggle is going to push me to a place that I never imagined in a positive way. So I'm really excited. I'm a nervous wreck. Like I haven't been sleeping because my mind is just trying to find a solution. Like every night I'm just like working how to solve the problem. So I've been having a hard time relaxing because of that. But I do think it's like a good thing. Like I think anxiety serves a purpose. I think the purpose of this anxiety is to work and solve the problem. So I'm scared, I'm nervous, I'm stressed, but I'm also really, really excited. I'm really excited that what changes are going to come from this and what growth is going to come from this immense struggle that I'm going through. I have a couple more things to chat about with you guys. I'm going to make it quick because we're almost going on an hour now. But little side note, one, don't forget to hit subscribe. I already said that. But two, a couple of my podcast listeners said that they'd be willing to pay a very small monthly fee to support the podcast. They mentioned about me opening up a Patreon. So that's something that podcasters will do. They'll open up a Patreon where sometimes you'll get like private content that only Patreon viewers can see. That sounds a little risque. I don't mean like private content in that way. This isn't an OnlyFans account. Whoa. I mean like I might throw a video talking about something personal that I don't want to bring up, that I only want to share with you guys. Or just in general, like it'll help give me some motivation to keep moving because at least I'm getting a little something for these podcasts. So I'm going to figure out how to open a Patreon and I'm going to, I don't have that many listeners right now. So there's only so much I could ask for, but I might like ask if you guys would be willing to donate 50 cents or something really ridiculous like that, like 50 cents a month on the Patreon. Until then, because I am under I have a lot of planning to do and I have time management things to work on right now. So until I figure out how to open that Patreon, if anybody wants to Venmo me a donation to help support my journey and this podcast and everything I'm going through, I'm going to leave my Venmo information below. But you can find me on Venmo easily. It's just Pranzata, at Pranzata, Pranzata. Or you could also probably find me through the email at pranzata@gmail.com. Through the Venmo app, you can find me any one of those ways. And if you would like to make even the 2 cents, I don't care. If you would like to make a donation to help me through this time and to help support the podcast and my journey into moving to New York City in November, which I have faith will definitely happen. I have to believe that because I believe by thinking positively about the situation, you're going to find a solution. So let's get me to New York City, guys. I'm really fucking excited. And I also want to put out more consistent content. Like I said, I've been through a lot of stress, so it's been hard. I've only been doing bi-weekly now, but I'm going to make the content weekly. I know I say that sometimes, but I'm going to commit to it again. I have three more things I want to talk about. I forgot to add this one. I'm going to make them quick because I don't want to keep you guys forever and ramble on. So this one is kind of funny. So I was presented recently the opportunity to try psychedelic mushrooms. FYI, my parents watch this podcast now. Don't freak out about this, guys. I am a good, hardworking kid. You know that. And mushrooms it's not like heroin or crack. Like you guys know what psychedelics are. And it's not acid that puts holes in your brains. It's, there's a lot of studies that show that mushrooms, have like an antidepressant effect. And some people, use them ritualistically to, get in touch with their spirituality. I've always been interested in trying mushrooms, but I've never been presented the opportunity. So I didn't really look for it. It kind of found me, you know what I mean? Somebody presented me with the opportunity to try mushrooms. So I tried it and I was really, really nervous about it because it was something that I had never done before. I didn't know if I was going to have a bad trip. I didn't know if I was going to have a panic attack. I didn't know if I was going to see things and make an ass out of myself in front of my friends. And do you know what happened? I took the mushrooms and absolutely nothing happened. I had no effect whatsoever. I have no idea why. I'm, I guess, immune to mushrooms. I saw the dose that was given to me, and it was pretty much the exact same dose as my friends. And my friends were seeing colors and dancing, and I was just sitting there like, they're like, do you feel it yet? And I'm like, no, I was just sitting there. I felt nothing. So I'm kind of annoyed by that because I was hoping to have some type of like spiritual creative breakthrough. Maybe it would help me find a solution to finally solving my financial problems, or maybe I would come up with some music writing ideas or some really cool stand-up bits. Like I was just really excited to see what the psychedelic psilocybin, whatever, mushrooms. I was curious to see what that would do for me, and it did nothing. And apparently there's like a small percentage of people that it doesn't affect. So either I'm one of them, or I need more of them. Like I need a higher dose, but I really find that hard to believe because I'm a lightweight. Like I've smoked weed before, and it only takes me like one hit to feel high. When I drink, I can get drunk off of 2 beers. I get antsy off of just a little bit of coffee, which I am right now because it's the morning. I don't get it. I felt nothing. The only thing I felt was sleepy the next day. Like when I woke up, I felt sleepy, but in a good way. Like it felt like I was well rested. So if anything, it helped me sleep a little deeper. But as far as like, some people say it like diminishes your ego and it brings your ego down. None of that. I felt like a human being. As a matter of fact, you know what I did that night? I got home and I was awake, but like not because of the mushrooms were energizing me, just because I was with my friends. So I was energized. I ended up like sitting in my bed at 3:00 in the morning with a journal, writing out my business taxes plan for the next year. Like that's probably the farthest thing from a spiritual awakening. Actually, that's probably, now that I think about it, that's probably my version of a spiritual awakening, because I tend to leave my taxes to like the last minute and don't pay them on time. So probably, maybe that is my version of a spiritual awakening, like awakening me to like plan ahead. But yeah, nothing, no cool colors, nothing, no sexy spiritual sightings, just me at 3 a.m. in my bed writing out my tax plan. So I don't know. I comment in the comment section below. Do you have any mushroom stories that you can tell me? Has anybody else tried mushrooms and not had any effects, or know why maybe I didn't have any effects? I am on antidepressants, so I'm kind of wondering if maybe it has something to do with that. Like maybe because I think that mushrooms do something to your serotonin levels. And because I'm already on a drug that's doing something with my serotonin levels, maybe it doesn't work on antidepressants. That could be it. But other than that, I'm pretty disappointed. Okay, next topic. We already talked about New York or Austin. We talked about my really boring mushroom experience. I have 2 more things I want to talk about. One, and this goes hand in hand with like the stress stuff. So I had an almost break-in in my apartment recently, like about 3 weeks ago. Fast forward, just so you guys can calm down. It ended up being not a burglar or anything like that. It was actually somebody who lived in my building that was really wasted and thought they were going into their apartment building. But nevertheless, I found that out later. But nevertheless, when it happened, it was kind of a traumatizing experience because I was by myself. It was 3:00 in the morning. And at 3:00 in the morning, all I hear is somebody body slamming the shit out of my door and trying to get in. And, you know, even to a degree, like, even if it was just somebody who lived in my building that was drunk, it still was just as terrifying as a potential burglar, because I don't know who they are. I don't, you know, if it's a man, I already feel threatened. Like, I already feel like if they're really drunk, like, what if they don't even know who I am? What if they think I'm somebody they live with? What if they thought I was their girl? What if they were so wasted, thought I was their wife or girlfriend and tried something on me? Or what if they're a violent drunk and they tried to hit me? You know what I mean? Like, it was a really kind of like a traumatic experience for me to be by myself in the middle of the night and to have somebody try to break into my house at 3:00 in the morning, drunk or not, mistake or not. It was horrifying. That was probably the first time in my entire life that I ever felt like I could die. Like I was like, because I didn't know what was going on. I was in the middle of a deep sleep, and then all of a sudden, like someone's body slamming the shit out of my door, like trying to get in. I have bolted locks, so thank God. Imagine if I forgot to lock them. He could have easily broken through the basic lock. So that was kind of an eye-opening experience because, like, I feel pretty fortunate to live in a safe neighborhood, and I feel pretty fortunate that I haven't really had anything like that happen to me in my entire life. But it really changed my perspective on one. This could be a warning that stuff like this could happen in the future, to remain vigilant and to be prepared. And that was the main thing, is that I think what made me the most afraid and the most like feeling helpless and feeling like I couldn't do anything was that I wasn't prepared for the situation. I didn't have, I didn't have any weapons. I didn't have any mace, any knives, any guns, nothing. It was just me, 3:00 in the morning by myself. So that really opened my eyes to the fact that it is important to protect yourself, even if you're renting an apartment, because if you have a home, I feel like you might need a security camera or some type of alarm system if somebody tries to break in, but you really never know what could happen. And I'm not going to lie, it actually was the first time it opened my eyes to like the potential of buying a gun because like, I'm not going to lie, like I never was somebody who was like pro guns necessarily, but if somebody were to break in and my life were to be threatened, I would have felt a lot safer with one. Ultimately, I don't know if I will get a gun because I looked into the gun laws and they're very strict to the point where it's like not even worth having a gun. Like if somebody intrudes, this is New Jersey, I don't know if this is like the entire country, but if somebody intrudes your house, you can't just shoot them. Like, I don't even think you can just like shoot them in the leg or anything. You have to somehow prove that your life is at risk, because if somebody breaks into your house, they could just be trying to steal something and run away. So you can, as a gun owner in New Jersey, like you can accidentally shoot someone and then you end up going to jail because you can't prove that they were trying to harm you. So for that reason, I don't think I'll get a gun because like, I feel like, so I have this gun and then what? I shoot someone and I go to jail. Like, so it's kind of not worth it. But I do want to be like fully prepared in case something like this ever happens again. I have mace now. I bring mace with me everywhere I go. I have mace by my bedside. I always have my phone charged in case I need to call 911. I know this sounds psychotic, but this was really a perspective change in my life because I had never felt that level of fear before. And it really opened my eyes like, holy shit, some people live in neighborhoods where they deal with this every day. Like some people live in poor countries or poor neighborhoods where this happens every day, So especially if I move to New York City, like I have to be prepared for this kind of stuff. So I'm like getting security cameras. I'm getting an alarm system. I have mace. As far as knives go, I mean, like it might be nice to have one, but at the end of the day, I don't know how to use it. So I kind of feel like what will end up happening is like, I don't want to get into it. I don't know if I want a knife because I don't know how to use it, but, or there could be the same laws regarding knives as well, like as gun laws. Like, so someone breaks in your house and you stab them and then you go to jail. It's just not worth it. But I do want to protect myself in any way I can. The mace, the security camera, the alarms. I really think it's important as a single woman to be prepared for that kind of stuff. That really changed my perspective. I just wanted to talk about this with you guys because like, I told a few people, but I didn't really talk about it with a lot of people, and I kind of just needed to get it off my chest. So comment in the comment section below if you've been through a similar like life-changing experience. If it's traumatic, you don't have to talk about it. Because in some cases it could have been a lot worse. Some people could have been raped, or some people could have been robbed, or some people could have been held at gunpoint. I don't know. So you don't have to talk about that type of stuff if it's traumatic for you. But if you want to talk about that, leave in the comment section below. If, how do you deal with like safety preparation? Do you have a dog to warn you? Like, I'm just kind of curious about your guys' experiences, because this is my first time really experiencing anything like this. It's just like a quick funny side note about that too. When I was like going to I was thinking about buying a knife, and I went to Walmart to go buy one, and I basically chickened out on buying one because like the knives you had to get an employee to open the knives for you. They were like behind a case with a key. So like, I don't know how to buy a knife, but I think what was almost more traumatic than this experience was like the etiquette of like trying to buy a weapon. Because like when I went to Walmart, I'm just like, how do I politely like ask like, yeah, which is the best knife that could like cut a bitch if necessary? You know what I mean? Like I didn't know how to like ask for a knife, and I ended up chickening out because I didn't know like the etiquette. I was just like asking the guy, I'm like, I'm trying to probe him to bring up the subject. I'm like, so are these for like fishing? What are these knives used for? And like the guy who was the key holder was kind of young, so I feel like he was just as like nervous as me. Like it was just like this really awkward nervous exchange between me and the guy, because he was like, do I bring it up? And I'm like, do I bring it up? And like the conversation wasn't really getting anywhere, so I just gave up and I was like, do you have mace? So I think he kind of knew what was going on. It was like a really funny exchange. I'm gonna kind of like work out a stand-up bit with that as well. But like, it's just like, yeah, no one prepares you for a break-in, but also no one prepares you for like how to ask for a weapon. Like it's just like a funny, awkward experience, like what's the etiquette? How do you ask for that kind of thing? So leave in the comment section below that too, if you know how to do that. Okay, I have one more thing I want to chat with you guys about. It's dating. So as I mentioned before in the podcast, I think this summer and seeing everybody out and about has been kind of like giving me feelings of loneliness and feelings of wanting to date again. I did go on a date. There have been like, some of you guys know, who know me personally, I've had like one or two flings or situations since me and my boyfriend broke up that didn't work out. So I haven't been completely alone. It's just that there were situations that were like, I had one guy in the beginning, like that was actually pretty quickly after me and Robbie broke up. It was literally like a month later. So maybe it's actually a good thing this didn't work out because like maybe I definitely wasn't ready for a relationship. I had a lot of like work to do on myself. But basically like we met and the chemistry kicked really fast, and it almost seemed like too good to be true sort of thing. And I guess it was too good to be true. But like we started seeing each other and, getting physically intimate with each other and hanging out and stuff. And it was honestly a lot of fun. But then they ended up like breaking the news to me that they're like kind of seeing a lot of people. Like it was like this weird situation where he had like a little girlfriend in France, and like he had an ex-girlfriend that he was like still taking care of her kids, and like he even brought up the potential like he's like, I think I might be polyamorous, like where my sexuality is open to like seeing different people at once. And like, call me old-fashioned, but that's just not my fucking thing. So I was like I think I kept seeing him for like a little bit after that because I was enjoying the time with him. But then after a while, I realized like, this is a dead end situation. This situation does not work for me. And like, listen, no shame on what your thing is. If you are, apparently that's a thing now. Like, listen, I'm fucking 33. Like when I was dating in my 20s, maybe it was a thing, but I didn't know about it. Apparently like it's pretty normal now that people declare themselves as sexually polyamorous, meaning that they are open and they date multiple people. That's just not my thing. I'm a very old-fashioned soul. I still believe in soulmates. Like, I don't believe you only have one soulmate. I think you can like have multiple soulmates throughout your lifetime, but I believe in like a traditional old-fashioned love. Like I'm a hopeless romantic and I will be for the rest of my life. Definitely fuels the songwritings and comedy and stuff like that. So I think ultimately it's a good thing that I'm like this, because I'm very passionate and very wholesome with my romances. So I just couldn't handle that. So that situation didn't work out for me, because I couldn't see myself just like in a situation that I knew was going to ultimately be nothing but sex, basically. So I got out of that. And there was another thing that's kind of still going on. I don't really know what's happening with it. I'm gonna find out more about that soon. But anyways, I did go on a date recently. I was playing a piano gig, and somebody left me their phone number. And actually it started out kind of cute, because like, speaking of the fake business stuff, you guys know I'm a huge Tim Dillon fan, and I'm obsessed with my fake business sweatshirt and coffee mug. So the guy had like a fake business sweatshirt, and I like shouted him out. I was like, fake business, Tim Dillon, hey. And he was with a girl, so I thought he had like a girlfriend. And I was like playing piano, so I was kind of like really focused on what I was doing. And I didn't really like eye him up in any kind of like sexual way, because for one, I was busy, and two, I was like playing piano. So I was like really focused. And like I said, I thought he had a girlfriend. So like, I didn't see him as like a object of a potential date, because I didn't assess him. Like I didn't look at him and like say, "Ooh, is he somebody I would date? Is he cute? What is he like?" I kind of didn't really pay attention. But when I got the number, I was intrigued, and I was like, well, this is a interesting way to start a date, because like, I already know we have this in common. But again, like it didn't occur to my mind that it could be a potential date. I just shouted at Tim Dillon because, like I said, I thought he had a girlfriend. So in my head, I was like, wait a second. I was like, what did he look like? Like, I was like, trying to like piece back the information. I was like, I don't remember what he looked like. Like, this is so crazy. So I asked him if he had like an Instagram, and he said no. And I was like, my God. I was like, well, then I can't assess the situation and decide if it's somebody that I want to like go on a date with. So I was like really, really nervous about this date. I was like, this is crazy. Like, I don't even know who this person is. They don't have any social media, so I can't stalk them and like look for red flags in advance. I can't pre-screen this person. The only thing I know is that he likes Tim Dillon, and that could be actually a really bad thing, because Tim Dillon is crazy. I love Tim Dillon, but I know some of his listeners are probably psychotic. So I was just like, okay. I almost canceled, to be honest, because I was so nervous. I was just like, I don't know what I'm getting into. What if I don't know what he looks like? What if I don't like him and then I'm stuck there? Like, I didn't know like what to do. And I ended up talking to my therapist about it. I was like, so a nervous wreck. I was like, do I go? Do I not go? I'm scared. I'm nervous. And they're like, just go, like, enjoy the process, enjoy the journey of life. It won't be a waste of time, because at the end of the day, it'll be an experience. Like, so if you like him, awesome. If you don't, well, at least you got an experience, you know? So I went on the date, and, he was fine looking. He was a really nice person. But I didn't feel, okay, how do I put this in words? I really hope they're not listening. By the way, I don't know if they don't have social media, so there's no way of them getting the link to this unless they know my podcast name already. So if you're listening to this, I'm not trying to disrespect you in any kind of way. By putting this out there, you seem like a great person. I'm just trying to like explain where I'm at perspective wise with like dating and everything. So I really apologize to this person if they're listening. But like perspective wise, even though I'm lonely, I'm having a really hard time like dating. I really, truly am. And I don't know what it is. It's just that in the past, like whenever I fell in love, it usually was somebody that I already knew, like it was somebody that I knew for a while or somebody that I was working with, which they always say, what's that quote? Don't shit where you eat, don't eat where you shit. I don't know which phrase. I think it's don't shit where you eat. I never liked the quote, by the way. I think it doesn't make any sense to me, but the quote is don't eat where you shit, don't shit where you eat, something like that. I like to shit where I eat because there are downfalls to it, because like when you're working with somebody and then you date and then you break up, like then you have to work with them. That's the downfall to it. But the pro to it to me was like, you already knew them. Like you already knew, you saw their friends if they came to visit them at work, you hung out in mutual meetings, you know how you interact. Like I love dating like that. I love dating in a way where I really know the person first. So that's why I've always kind of liked to shit where I eat, because like eat where I shit, whatever. I really don't know which order it's supposed to be. Because I really like knowing somebody, and I like really knowing somebody before I get into it. And I do feel like when you work with somebody for a while, you do get to know them. I'm having a hard time dating because it's like, first of all, I find it creepy. Like I don't mean this particular date. I just mean the dating process is fucking creepy, and it's creepy both ways. Like the whole thing of like, it feels so unnatural, like, and creepy to me. It's like you're assessing the person. Like, do you do this? Do you like this? Do you like that? And it's just like so fucking unnatural. It's not a natural way to have a conversation. I don't like it. I don't like the dating process. I can't really see myself dating like this. I feel like I can only really see myself dating somebody that I already know, naturally. So, you know, I feel like I don't want to continue dating this way. I don't want to use dating apps. I don't want to, you know, if I see a cute guy and he asks me on a date, I'll entertain it. But it's hard for me to catch feelings this way because it feels unnatural. And I feel like I like to let relationships develop naturally over time. So I feel like I'm going to end up getting in a relationship with somebody that, one, if I get another job, like in the city or whatever, I might meet a coworker that I like. Two, maybe in the comedy scene, I might get to know somebody, or in the music scene, I might get to know somebody. Or if I make friends, there might be a mutual friend. I feel like for me, that's how it's going to happen. Or it could be somebody I already know and I don't even know it yet. It could be somebody that I'm already, friends with that I don't realize is going to grow into something. I don't know, but I just don't really see it happening for me this way. I don't like the process. It's annoying. I just want to be myself. I don't want to like feel like I'm on a fucking job interview. Like for example, and again, if this person's listening, no disrespect. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm just trying to share my feelings. Like, I remember on the date, like the person, we were talking about our eating habits, and I told him that I eat a gluten-free diet. I actually have more restrictions that I didn't tell him about, but all I told him, because right now I'm a pescatarian, I'm not eating any meat or cheese. I'm only eating, maybe I did tell him that, but right now I'm not eating meat or cheese or gluten. So I'm gluten-free, dairy-free, and meat-free right now. I'm basically living a pescatarian diet. I eat a lot of healthy carbs like rice, potatoes. I eat a lot of fruits, I eat a lot of vegetables. And I eat fish and eggs for my protein, and beans and all that, and edamame and that type of stuff too. So I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian per se, but I'm a pescatarian. Oh, I guess technically I'm an ova pescatarian, where I eat the fish, I eat the eggs. And I might talk a little bit more about what my process with that later, but I don't want to get too off track. The point I'm trying to say is I told him that I was gluten-free. And his face, like he wears like emotions on his sleeve, and his face was just like, really? Like he looked like really disappointed. And like I guess from his perspective, he was assessing me and seeing if I was a woman he wanted to date. And in his mind, he was probably thinking like, so if I date her, I won't be able to have pizza with her. Like that's what was going on in his head. And it's just like, that pissed me off kind of, because it's just like, if you want to eat gluten, eat fucking gluten. Like what does me doing what I do have any fucking thing to do with what you do? Like we're too, and I'm ranting now, but that it's like, that's what brings me back to like why I don't really like dating this way, because I feel like people are individuals and people are going to do what they want to do. And it makes more sense to come together as two whole people that can be individuals. You don't need to do everything together. Like, you don't need to eat every fucking slice of pizza together. I don't know. Like I understand, like, I want to share experiences with somebody, but I also want to be myself. And I don't want to like disappoint somebody because I eat gluten. I don't know. It kind of pissed me off, to be honest. And the whole dating experience really turns me off. I like I said, I don't think I'm ready to date like this. Again, if it happens again, I might entertain it, especially if I'm very attracted to the guy. And maybe I talk to him a little bit before the date or something. But I'm really not looking right now like that. I kind of want to just like focus on me, focus on getting my money, focus on getting to New York City, and whatever relationships are meant to be, I think will happen and evolve naturally over time. It's just rough because, like I said, I am experiencing like loneliness right now. I'm experiencing the artist entrepreneur loneliness that happens. You know, a lot of people don't realize that like when you're working towards a goal, there's a lot of alone time that you have. Like I practice piano alone. I write my stand-up sets alone. The fun part and the being with people part is much less. For example, here's a metaphor to the situation. If you see like, if you go to the beach and you see like this ripped dude, like this fucking shredded or girl, this like ripped babe, and she's got this fucking slamming hot body, and you know, you might look at that dude or that girl and you might think like, man, they've got the life. Like they must have so much fun. They must party. They must get all these girls, all these dudes, whatever. But the reality is that dude is probably seldom at the beach. He probably spends, if they're that shredded, they probably spend the most of their days food prepping, being at the gym, sleeping well, drinking lots of water. They probably don't have a lot of fun because in order to reach that goal, they have to spend a lot of time planning, a lot of time alone, a lot of time in their own head at the gym with their headphones on. And it's not necessarily a bad thing either. Like some people prefer that lifestyle. But it does come with its downfalls. So that's kind of like where I'm at personally right now. It's like, I feel like I'm on a mission and I'm heading towards a good place, but that's not to say that I don't get lonely and I don't struggle along the way. I brought this up on my Instagram recently on one of my Instagram stories. I'm going to repeat it again on this podcast in case somebody, didn't hear it from Instagram. But a quote that comes to mind for me that really helps me get over this or work through this is there's this classical pianist. His name is James Rhodes. I really like him. Check him out, James Rhodes. I like him because he's like modern with tattoos, but he plays classical piano like a fucking beast. And I feel like I could relate, not that I feel like I could play like a beast, but I can relate to that in the sense that I'm like a modern millennial looking woman, but I still have an old soul with classical music. That's exactly how James Rhodes is to me. So he's a big inspiration to me. And I heard him say on one of his like Instagram posts is that, I don't know if it was a story or a post, but I'm going to quote him and I'm paraphrasing. I'm probably fucking up the quote, but what he said was, a lot of people ask me, how can I be a pianist? How can you spend all this time alone, all this time traveling to concerts? To be a pianist, that's to his level, to his caliber. You have to practice a lot. You have to spend a lot of alone time. You have to travel alone. A pianist is a lonely lifestyle. You perform for your audience, but then you go behind the curtain and, unless you want to interact with the audience, a lot of these really famous pianists don't want to because, they don't want to get smothered. You're alone a lot. So he said, like, a lot of people ask me, how could I do this? Isn't this struggle, isn't it hard? Isn't it a big struggle? Isn't it depressing? And his response, and I love this response, he said, yes, it's hard. Yes, it's a struggle. Yes, it's painful. He used that word specifically. He said, being a pianist is incredibly painful, but the pain of not doing it is greater than the pain of doing it. And that's exactly how I feel with my life right now. It's like, I am struggling a lot right now. I'm having financial stress. I feel lonely. I work hard. And it's painful. There's a lot of pain that goes along with pursuing something like this. But the pain of not doing it is bigger than the pain of doing it. And life, for me, and that's not for everybody. Everybody, and that's what I'm getting at. Everybody, this is like sermon Pranzatelli hour. Everybody chooses their pain in life, Everything that you want in life is going to be a struggle. If you want kids, that's going to be incredibly hard. If you want to buy a house, that's going to be incredibly hard. You have to work really hard for that house. If you want to be a starving, struggling artist, that's really hard. Everything in life is hard. Everything in life is painful. Doing nothing is painful. Sitting on your fucking fat ass in bed and doing nothing is painful because you cry and you feel lonely and you feel depressed. So like the easy path is painful. The difficult path is painful. All the paths are painful. So, and I'm starting to realize that more than ever right now. And I'm going to say another quote. I'm going to paraphrase, something, it was either Mark Norman or Sam Morril. I don't know which one said it, but one of them said, one of the keys to becoming a great comedian, a great comic, is to fall in love with all the bullshit that comes along the way. So, if you're waiting for a flight and you're starving and you're tired and you're hungover, try to find the humor in life. Try to find, rather than thinking like my life is miserable, try to think, well, what comedy bit could I get out of this desperate situation? Like, for example, I did that with the dead turtle thing. Like, it was pretty traumatic to see a turtle and to think like, what could this mean for my life? But I was able to use that as a stand-up bit and talk about it on stage. And I got the audience laughing, like, when I get into it and I talk about it. So it's like, this doesn't just apply to artists and comedians. This applies to everybody. Life is a struggle. Life is hard. Try to find the joy. Try to enjoy the struggle. Try to enjoy the journey. I know that's cliche and like all the YouTubers say that. So I hate to be cliche, but it really is true. Like, try to find some sort of peace with the unknown. And that is something I really struggle with, by the way. I like having a plan. I like having a solution, but life is unknown. You don't know what's going to happen. You can die. Somebody you love could die. A pet could die. You could lose your house. You could get into a car crash. The past couple of weeks, that has been like everything that has been going on for me. It's been like one unpredictable thing after the next. But at the end of the day, you have to somehow enjoy that. For example, when my tire broke the other day and I didn't have a spare, I had a bunch of Wendy's on me because I was doing a delivery order, and that's when my tire broke. So the tow driver picked me up, and I had all this Wendy's, and I could choose to look at this situation like, oh, fuck my life. Like, by the way, I have like a pet peeve about people like this. I hate people, and I don't mean to disrespect you if you're like this. I don't actually, hate's a strong word, but it despises me when I hear people do this. I hate that breath. I hate it so much because, like, to me, when people breathe like that, when they're like, like when they do that breath, it's like, to me, it's like having the attitude that is like, fuck my life. Like that's what it's, and maybe that's not what it means. It could genuinely just be like a breath of like relief or something. And that's a different story. But when you carry, the point I'm getting at is like, when you carry that attitude in life, that's like another fucked up thing. Like my life, fuck my life. I can't stand that attitude. Like, I feel like it makes more sense to try to find the joy and to try to find the humor in the stupid little things that happen. So what I'm getting at is like, I had all this like Wendy's on me and I brought it in the car. And like, I told the delivery driver, I'm like, do you know how much fucking self-control it took me to not like go ham on this food while I was waiting an hour for you to pick this up? And like, he just started cracking up. Like, and there were like bugs flying on me. And like, we were just like, me and the tow truck driver, we were just like cracking up about the irony of the whole thing. Like me breaking down and like having all this Wendy's and like being on a pescatarian diet and trying so hard not to eat the Wendy's. I did end up eating the French fries, but because I figured it was still pescatarian, but like, just like the whole thing was funny to me. Like I had no money. Like it was just like a hilarious situation to me. And anyways, I don't know. That's really what I wanted to talk about with that. It's like the moral of all that is like life is going to be hard. It's going to keep on being hard. Even though the turtle is dead, the struggle isn't over necessarily, you know? I don't know. I just wanted to talk about that. I wanted to bring that up to you guys. Let me know if you have any comments on that or any thoughts about that. Anyways, that's everything I wanted to talk about today. I've already been going for almost an hour and a half now, and I could have kept going, to be honest. So that's why I made a list. I wanted to like keep it controlled and concise for you guys, or else I would just keep running my mouth. There's still so many things I wanted to talk about, like the pescatarian diet and like more about spirituality, but I think an hour and a half is enough for you guys to handle. And that's it for today. This is the Pranzata podcast. Apologies for the lack of proper audio. As we know, I've had some issues this week, so you're gonna have to deal with this for now. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit like. And again, if you want to submit a donation to my Venmo account to help support the podcast and to support my journey towards getting to New York City, again, I put that information below. It's Pranzata, Pranzata, or you can probably look at my email, pranzata@gmail.com. I will be figuring out how to open up a Patreon, but until then, if you would like to submit some type of donation to my Venmo account, that would be greatly appreciated. This is the Pranzata podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Bye. See you next time.